Let's move on to, are we keeping Joe Schoen? Because that's also a key part of this as well. Now, usually what will happen is if you fire the GM, you fire the coach. If you fire the coach, you may not fire the GM. Usually the GM gets a little longer release than the coach does for whatever reason. Like we talked about a minute ago, we talked about Daboll. I think personally these two are absolutely attached to the hip, though. I think if one goes, they both go. And you start fresh and new. Because Joe Schoen's had 3 years, guys. Can you honestly sit here and tell me this roster is in much better shape than it was 3 years ago? I don't know.
The roster itself or the
roster? That's what he's involved with. He's not the coach. He's just it's like the tune that said back in the day there when Parcells said, if I'm gonna be expected to cook the dinner, I should go ahead and shop for the groceries. No. Daboll has to cook the dinner. Shane's getting the groceries.
Then yes.
Yeah.
Player-wise, yes.
And I would
say yes.
What I want to see is, we talked about the report that Jordan Schultz said about, Daboll basically coaching for his job for the next 7 games. I don't think he's coaching for his job at all. I think he's coaching for both their jobs because I think Joe Schoen is going to be judged by how these players look because this is his roster. It's been 3 years now. This is not Gettleman's people anymore, except for some of the big guns out there, the Andrew Thomases, the Dexter Lawrences, those guys. But, otherwise, look at the big names that are out there. You got a rebuilt offensive line. That's Joe Schoen. You got Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Nabers, Joe Schoen.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to take that offensive line, the 5 collective.
Yeah.
You look at it, and
4 to 5.
You're ranked 28 when Joe Schoen came in. We were ranked at 17 last week or whatever it was.
Yeah, before Thomas got hurt.
Like, big improvement, like you said.
Yeah.
Do we have a Nabers? Do we have a generation talent? Do we have a guy that can go out there? Wan'Dale. Do we have such a great guy in the slot? We had Shep, but Shep couldn't stay healthy. So, he was older. Like, who else was out there receiving for us?
Yep.
Like, the only thing argument you can make of is maybe corners.
Yeah. But that's where we can get into the conversation of has Joe Schoen ignored some of the big spots in this roster? And is that part of the issue? Look at like you mentioned corner. Deonte Banks, we threw Deonte Banks out on an island, basically saying, you're the number 1 corner. There's no other option. That's it. You're going to fall flat in your face or that's it. And that's not a good way to build a roster, is to not have a fallback option. We look at Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones fell on his face. There is no fallback option when Drew Lock the safe pick.
No, I'm gonna disagree. I get what you're saying, but when it comes to making the right moves, did he fall short on certain key spots? Maybe. But when you really take poop, let's call it what it is, diarrhea, and tell me you make it into a diamond, you're going to have to do a lot of work. And not necessarily the whole time you have to concentrate on this spot, because the whole collective thing is a mess.
Yeah.
So, yes, the corner room needs to be improved. But it also has to be improved, the whole defensive line. Did it improve? Yes. Did the offensive line improve? Yes. That was also garbage. For how long?
Yep.
All right. The receivers, when he came in, were they a mess? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Quarterback play, was it a mess when he came in? Yeah, pretty much. But there was also a diamond in the rough there, and he made the right choice at the time, which in hindsight, you could pick at it now. But the hindsight, 85 to 90% of Giant fans agreed with the decision. You had to do it because 2 years later, you get rid of Jones.
Yep.
All right, running back position. Is it improved, or is it better? Is it better or is it worse?
Improved. It's financially improved.
Financially improved. You're right. You also got
actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to say it's financially improved because he gave $6 million to Devin Singletary.
Okay, so you got 4 running backs for $13 million.
Yeah, but there's a difference. When you talk financially, it's not just what you're paying, it's what you get for what you pay. I'm not looking for the cheapest. I'm looking for the best value.
I understand what you're saying, but also that's also hindsight because Barkley's balling out this year right now, and we call that,
as we said.
But we call that. But next year, if he gets hurt week 3 and Tracy goes along and be top 7 in the league with running yards, and
Yeah, but I guarantee
Touchdowns.
you, no one thought Tracy's going to be. Even the Giants couldn't have thought he's going to be what he is.
No.
But I mean, Joe Schoen though gets a lot of praise, as he should though, for this draft class. I mean, all around, you got stars all over the place there on this team. Like, I guess it's stars for this team, not for the NFL. I'm not trying to overplay that, but I mean, Nabers is a true NFL star. Tyrone Tracy's leading all rookie running backs in yards. You got all kinds of good play. Drew Phillips on redrafts is going in the first round now. Theo Johnson started to show up a little bit there. Tyler Newman's been looking good. I mean, this has been an excellent draft class, but you still can't ignore the fact that he had 2 bad draft classes leading up to that. We've already cut a few players that he drafted. And again, this is not year 3 up, we're going to year 4. This is in the midst of year 3. Marcus McKeith only lasted 2 seasons, got cut. Javaris Owens got cut here mid-season from just the practice squad. It wasn't on the roster at that point. Joshua Ezeudu, we've been asking for him to get cut for a while because he's just not that good. Evan Neal, who was a first-round pick, let's be honest, played better this last week, but there was a chance he would have gotten cut if he was like a 3rd, 4th-round pick just based on how he's playing.
100%.
There's definitely questions you can make. Kayvon Thibodeau, has he lived up to the 5th round, 5th overall pick? That's a legit question to ask. He had a lot of sacks last year, but they also had a very high rate of pressure to sack ratio, where some of that's probably the luck of him feasting on bad offensive lines. But like I said, there's a lot of questions to the drafting overall. I'm not going to hit on, the Darren Waller thing. Now, some people like to hate on him for that. I don't care personally, because you took a shot with a 3rd round pick. You give me a 3rd round pick and give me a potential all-pro tight end, I'll take that.
100%. There's nothing
wrong. It worked out. It's still not a bad trade.
I think, listen, the draft is a gamble. It's 100% a gamble for a lot of players. And you're right. The first couple of years wasn't the best. But also, we said it 2 years ago, Tibbs was like absolutely like a steal for what we got. We lied to get him. Like, not only did the Giants fans, but coaches around the league fell into like, is he that great? Can he be that great? Same with Evan Neal. Like, let's not be wrong. Like,
we're both like that.
Yeah, let's not fool ourselves. Like, because we're looking at hindsight. But what he also did was said, hey, from the get-go, I'm not going to spend money. We need to rebuild. We need to decrease cap space.
Yeah.
And start reworking things. And like what he's done is he started doing that, and they start bringing in players the past year and a half after clearing cap space. And he brought in some good players. And granted, once again, we talk about Waller. Don't blame the guy because you took a shot. You took a shot on a guy that could have been, he was on pace to be like a Travis Kelce last year. So if you get that on a Giants team,
but here's the thing, though. You mentioned the cap space. Like, there's no cap space in this team right now, and the whole reason we don't have the cap space is because we signed a lot of players. Like, we signed, John Runyon Jr. to a big contract. We signed Jermaine Illuminor to a bigger contract. We signed Greg Van Roten late in the year there. There's 3 guys we signed. Now, the reason we signed those guys, let's be very frank, is because Josh Ezeudu sucks. Marcus McKeith has sucked. Evan Neal hasn't lived up to the hype. The reason we had to spend that money is because of draft mistakes. And
I'm also going to rebuttal that too, because there's not that many players that come out of the draft that come out studs on that line. No. So
JMS is a perfect example. He's been getting better over time. The other guys I mentioned have not. And that's the difference what I'm saying. We missed on guys, and we reached for some. Let's be honest, Josh Ezeudu was not a 3rd round pick.
He wasn't.
Not a 3rd round pick.
But you also can't build a house out of cards. You have to build the foundation, and then you can put the cards on there.
That's like trying to build a house out of popsicle sticks. So the way these guys are
playing. The cards are way worse than popsicle sticks, but yes. But I'm saying, if you have cards, if you have nothing but turds around you, the ability for you to become better is shit. Let's be real here.
Saying, we have to be realistic about those issues. There's not.
We do.
This is not an anti-Shane. This is not a pro-Shane. There's legitimately both of them. But you know what my biggest concern is going to be with him right now is how much of this is John Mara going to be pissed off about the Saquon thing still. I keep going back to Hard Knocks, and I see I'm gonna be upset if he goes to Philadelphia. He's a really popular player. He's really good. And then what do we see? We see this guy like backwards leapfrogging players, almost breaking his career best in yards in a game, but didn't get it only because he sat down for the whole fourth quarter against the Giants. Like, there's some things that he said and did this offseason while he was on camera that are questionable. I mean, he tried to make Saquon look the villain. He really trashed Saquon publicly by doing it when he knows cameras there for Hard Knocks. Some of that I think is going to bite him in the butt. So I'm telling you, let's say, for example, I was a player and then I had to decide where I was going to sign. And this is what I saw last year. Watching HBO, because I don't think the NFL guys don't watch that stuff. They do. And this is what I see. And then Joe Schoen's calling me, hey, I'd love to have you as a New York Giant. Like, would you? Because you were a dick to Saquon.
And you're wrong, but also, we're seeing what's happening on TV. We also don't see what happens behind closed doors for, how many other teams. So, I can guarantee you, Shane could have been respectful and still said that in a nice manner, compared to, you're gone, bomb. Let's go. No way we're going to pay that. So, there's both sides that you could take there. He could have been, a dick to the camera and came across as dick, but he also, we don't see how it is behind closed doors. You're talking about a league that's high competition, always playing to the top. It's cutthroat. So people could just sit there and yes, Shane came off very transactional and made it more like his bank statement than a human being involved. But he's definitely not the only guy out there doing that.
No, I'm not suggesting that by any stretch of imagination.
I know that, but I'm saying so players and veterans around the league understand that. Is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes you can see that and that's the name of the game. It's
you can still understand that, and we've all had bosses like that, but you choose who you want to work for based on that kind of stuff as well. And when you're a free agent, you have that decision to make.
But I'm saying maybe 30 teams out of the league act more like Shane than the other two.
I don't know what the ratio is. All I know is that I feel like if he acts that way when the cameras are on, imagine when the cameras are off.
Yeah, I mean, once again, that go both ways because either he's the guy that loves his peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and
I guarantee you that,
and wants to be down to earth all he wants, and he just wants to even a little bit more of it.
Got a silver camera caviar sitting there in the pasture.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, he came off very fake. He came off very phony. He came off very pompous, very, sure and full of himself. And I wonder if some of that's going to come back to bite him, especially with the stuff with Saquon, given what Mara thought of Saquon. So we'll have to find out. But again, I think he's playing for his job as much as Daboll is for his at that point there. I think how this team reacts with DeVito in there and with not having the guy who's got all the blame in Jones, then we're going to find out real quick what this team is. And that's going to probably determine fully what happens with Shane. And what happens with Shane will probably determine what happens with Daboll. That's my personal opinion. So,
if you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.